Greetings, fellow traders. Bubblehead here, and it's time for the lunchtime market update for Monday, March 9th, 2020. I hope everybody's having a great trading day today. This is brought to you by Positive Trends Research, and everything we're going to talk about is for educational purposes only and not investment advice, so please take a moment to review this disclaimer. Awesome. Good. All right. Well, let's check and see where we're at with the market today. So what a historic day today. So, here we are, right? Red month, right? We talked about this yesterday. Red month in February, red month now in March, right? It's only the beginning of March. We're right now below the 20 moving average on the monthly chart. Weekly chart, we can see we gap down off of that Harami cross here, right under the 30 weekly moving average, and we're putting a lower hammer right here. So today was an amazing day, right? So today we halted at the open. So we had our first halt in a while. So we halted last night on the ES, right? So let's take a look here. Let's just double check the our 15 here. So you can see we had a big push down at the open, and then they halted it, right? So that made it. So we waited for 15 minutes, and you can see here this once they opened up again, right? We started to kind of rally its way back up today. So let's take a look at the SPY and then the ES and see what happened here. Okay, so the SPY today, pretty interesting stuff, right? So we had that big move up right after it was halted, big 15-hour break, and it's kind of chopping around up here right now. We had a little bit of a geometric level break right here for another push to the upside. But you can look at the ES. Right, so last night we were chop fest, right? We were halted all night, right, because it was down 5%, and then we gapped down today, and then pushed down. And once we pushed down below the that key level this morning, right here, right, we halted for 15 minutes. Okay, that was a level 1 halt, right, and then came down, and then pushed its way back up. So they bought the dip on that one today, which is pretty impressive, right? So a big move up, made it really, really difficult because the VIX spiked as well, and that really affected options, right? The spreads were all over the place. So on some, even on SPY, I think the spreads were like $5 at one point on the way up. So it made it very, very challenging with the options. But ultimately, they did fade the gap here on the ES. We're kind of chopping around at that level from yesterday right now too. So we're down 147 right now. So inside 15 now. We'll see how that holds up here into the rest of the day. But very, very historic open this morning, and pretty interesting to be a part of it, really. Let's take a look at Apple. So Apple was one of the first ones to rally with the rest of the market. So a nice push up here, 15-hour break, got over its pre-market levels, had a nice move up, and it's still kind of holding up pretty well right here. So prior closing gap, it was testing those levels a little bit earlier. Tesla, down 70 points, but that had a big rally this morning too. So oil's been down, right? So Tesla electric vehicle kind of the opposite. So it did give a spike on that one as well, holding over the 15-hour high right here, but still a big gap above. And we still have a lot of big gaps above on a lot of the different stocks. Again, as the lack of knowledge and lack of information, I suppose, on the corona is making the market still a little bit nervous, right? And you can see we looked at the SPX right there. We do still have a pretty big change of context as we look mostly to the downside right now. If we look at mRNA, Moderna, this was one that was moving up pre-market, but actually faded pretty quickly this morning. We saw that on some of these Corona plays, right? So we've seen that this morning. VIX was interesting today, of course. So had also had a big push up too, and the market was pushing up, and then kind of came back down. And it's coming down a little bit too. So very interesting stuff there. GLD, gold, right? Interestingly enough, had a really kind of pulled down. It was a surprise that with the market gapping down as much as it was, that we didn't really have a big gap up today, but really, really crazy levels with gold. So just be careful with these, as folks like to stay out of those positions and consider being in cash. Oil, of course, got hit. So a couple of the ones we were looking at this morning, Oxy, right, had a little bit of a push down at the open, and then it recovered. Wow, 14, amazing to see it down this low. A little bit of a spike right there, kind of chopping around the 15-hour high right now. So pretty interesting stuff this morning. We've got a few chart requests out there. So Zoom is an interesting one, of course. Been a good Corona play. Nice pop this morning. Got through its levels. Faded its gap, both the open and closing gaps. So that was a good move on Zoom today. It's still holding up green over its key levels. So that's a good thing for Zoom. Walmart is one of the big trades that we pointed out this morning here. So that had a big spike this morning. Huge range so far, right? Of course, folks, buying a lot of stuff from Walmart, gearing up for whatever, right? So gearing up for Corona. So that type of thing, buying extra food, buying disinfectants, things like that. So we did see a nice break out of the cloud this morning on Walmart. It gave a nice key setup here this morning. We had a nice triangle break after this inside 15 up. That was a nice move there on Walmart. So good stuff there. SLV. So we're kind of chopping around to a little bit better than gold right there. It's over the 15 orb, right? So, but it's still below its 200-day moving average. So watch out there. Surprised that it gapped down with the rest of the market today. But again, a lot of folks are getting out of metals and into cash just to basically to stay safe, right? So you're kind of seeing a lot of that going on today. Facebook had a really nice rally today. It's still down 8 points, but it had it's put in a decent hammer right here. 15 orb break, decent move from the lows today off of the 15 orb low. So that was a nice move on Facebook today. Microsoft, this was another one that was a little bit rough at the open on the spreads, but it did give a big spike out of its 15 orb, right? It's kind of triangulating right now, but it did fill its gap, so that was good. Again, it really needs to kind of get above there, and well, at least needs to stay in yesterday's range to show some relative strength. GE was an interesting one too. Let's take a look here. This is kind of one of those ones that we look at. It's really good spreads. Something that you could trade. When the SPY was weak. This is something that had some decent spreads for the spike up there on GE. But right now on the daily chart, it's just kind of down here, kind of doji. It's got some key levels right here that it looks like it's holding. So we have that going on. Boeing is another interesting one as well. Right, so a little bit of a hammer. It had an interesting opportunity the other day, right? If we go here, we were at the bottom of the channel right now. We gap below it, so this is key, right? So we're still below this this downward trend line right here. I like the recovery today, but I'm still tracking this downward trend line. I want to see if we can get above it and confirm. I'm even okay waiting. I mean, it's a huge range today, right? This is kind of like almost what you want, like even just like in the first leg of a swing, just from today's lows, right? Today's range was 17 points, but we're gonna keep an eye on it, see if we can confirm above this lower trend line here, get back in the channel. So that would be interesting for Boeing if we could get some strength off of that going forward. So very interesting stuff today, guys. Just be careful out there. There's a couple key setups. One of the ones that we didn't mention too is Twitter, and this one I like this morning from the news pre-market. Let's just take a look at that real quick. Twitter has had an epic move today from its lows. You can see here, big candle today, engulfing right now. It's obviously pulled back a little bit off of its ADMA, but it did go over its 50 pretty nicely. One of the things we liked about this was its strength pre-market. It had good solid news on it, so it's a good 15 orb candidate. We did get a 15 orb break on this. I also really like the triangle right here, the double inside 15 on Twitter for the breakout here on this candle. Right, and you can see too, if I can close that right there, you can see here too, nice increasing volume, and then got some nice follow through the upside today. It looks like it's pulling back a little bit right now, but again, it's still very, very bullish. So see if that holds for the rest of the day, and maybe it'll drift into the close. So a good one to keep an eye on. This is great too for context with the news, and I like how when it broke out too, it broke over the pre-market levels as well. So pretty impressive stuff there on Twitter, and very, very interesting day today. Again, historic day today with the level 1 halt and the futures being halted overnight. So let's see if they continue to try to buy the dip on this one, and maybe and hopefully we have a lot more recoveries of corona patients around the world, and hopefully this goes away, right? Because nobody likes to think about that or worry about that. So I hope everybody has a wonderful and healthy and safe rest of your trading day. And we'll see you guys at the market wrap. And remember your risk first and stay safe so you can stay in the game. And I'll talk to you soon.